Hello everybody, this is our first installment from Old School Speed. We're going to do some work on this old CB350 here. We're going to put our rear set kit on it, give you some pretty detailed instructions, hopefully. That way you guys should answer any and all questions. As you can see right now, we've got everything taken off the bike. We have the factory pegs taken off. We have the brake pedal already taken off through that little spot right in there. We have the exhaust bolts taken out. And we've just got everything hanging up here, still loose. One thing we have to do to this is we have to pull this rear wheel off, pull this hub assembly out, rotate this piece. It's normally down here, rotate it 180 degrees to get it to about the 1 o'clock position. Don't even have to take the arm off that little spline shaft down there. So just pull it out, pull the drum arm, rotate it, and you're good to go. So now we're gonna start putting some pieces on this thing. Here we are back again. Once again, this is Kris from Old School Speed, and I got Dale over here on my left.
Hi.
He's gonna be doing most of the grunt work here for us today. I got all the parts laid out for the bike. Everything's on the brake side, shifter side all set up. We got our lever, we got our mount. This is one of the mount bolts. We've got our piece of linkage here. Now you notice, I'm gonna zoom in here nice and slow. I've got two separate washers on this, two little spacers. You're gonna have one on each side of this brake arm. We'll get into more detail on that later. Got our folding peg with the mount bolt, optional spacer if you wanna use it, depending on whatever shocks you guys are running. We'll go over that too. This little piece right here is pretty important. This is our lever stop. Come on, focus. There we go. This is going to keep your lever at a decent riding position, at a comfortable position, based on the tension on the brake arm. And we got our toe peg and our front mount bolt for there. So everything on the brake side, shifter side, much of the same. Left side mount, they are different. There is a right and left side mount. We've got our splined shifter arm. We've got our linkage bolt for the heim joints and linkage, and lever, folding peg, toe peg. So, all that said, we are ready to go. We're going to start on the shifter side. Oh yeah. And once again, everything's off the bike. Nothing on, no chain. We already swapped our wheel. The hub arm on the other side, we got that taken care of. We got our shifter off. Factory peg, factory passenger peg is all taken off. And right now we're starting with the shift arm. We're going to put that heim joint on the inside of the shifter there, close to the case. And I'll show you more why further on we go. Left side mount. We got the exhaust loosened up at the front as well, just to give us a little bit more clearance on the back side for lining up these holes. We're just going to put everything on.
Finger tight.
Yeah, finger tight to start with. And then once you get everything set up and you get everything on, you get it set up, you get your linkage comfortable to where you want it, take the bike around the block, make sure it'll shift, and then come back and pull everything off and lock tight every single bolt on here except for the linkage. That way we don't have anything come loose from vibrations and whatnot. Here's the folding peg. It's going to come assembled just like this with our cotter key, our pin inside it. Never mind, it's not going to come assembled. So you're going to put a pin in from one side, and then you're going to put it through, put the cotter key in the washer, just a spacer to keep the slop out of it. Bolt from the back side. Lever. Should fit inside the bushing nice and easy. There's going to be a little slop in there. That's just the tolerance stack up that we've got from the bushing to the nose of the peg. Because we got to make sure this thing rotates free when bolted up nice and tight. So same rule as before, finger tighten, get that lever positioned so that way it can you can fold it up if need be, or if you take a corner nice and sharp like you should, it's going to give a little bit for you.
little bit of adjustment here, kind of get it in the general area for shifting. You want your lever to be up a little bit. Again, finger tight.
So if you look from the side, you'll see that the lever arm at the top and that shift arm are pretty close to being parallel. Okay, that's gonna, when they move in conjunction, basically. Okay, so that's gonna allow, if you got them too far apart, like a V shape, it's gonna be, they're gonna counteract each other when you try to shift, when you try to do an upshift. If they're close together like an A, if they're going to a peak in the middle like the shape of an A, you're going to have problems on your downshift because it's going to put too much stress on this lever. But if this isn't comfortable for you, you can adjust a notch on this to get it to lean forward or backward, and you still got adjustment in your linkage. Pretty basic design, pretty easy to use, and as you can see, once you get everything off, we put that on in 4 minutes. So now we're going to move on to the other side. All right, guys, we got that mounted up. It's a little tough sometimes when the pieces are just stamped. They're 70-year-old machining stampings, and sometimes the holes don't always line up. We make the holes as big as we can on our parts to accommodate this, but sometimes you just take some finagling to get them lined up. So you'll see what we did here is we got our lever stop mounted. That way when the lever is up at the top, it bumps against the top of that. Works out pretty well for what we're going to do next. So Dale's going to tighten that up a little bit, and then we're going to start mounting our linkage on this brake side. This is where you're going to want to use something to hold on to that lever stop.
You want it to be flush when the lever comes up and touches it. You want it both sides. You don't want it to be like that.
Right. That way you're not marring up your lever.
Right. You want it
and this gives
to be flat.
Gives you a pretty comfortable position.
And unfortunately, it can be a little bit tricky. What I've done is I've taken a business card, one of Kris's, and we're just gonna kind of wrap it around this thing in the position that we want it to stay. And we're just gonna grab it with a pair of pliers, kind of gently, to hold it where it's at, and then tighten it up. And that should come out pretty good. It's a little bit off.
It's good enough for now because we're going to pull it off and Loctite it later on. So
that's about the position you want it to be in. There we go. These are a little bit tricky, but you finagle it and you'll get it in there. Now we're going to go to the linkage. Now the brake lever that you flipped over on the rear wheel, this is how it's gonna go. There's two little machined washers that are gonna set right in there like that, one on each side.
They've got a step on them.
They've got a step on them. And what's gonna happen, and I like to put these through this way so the nuts on the inside, and your stepped lever, your stepped part is gonna go into that. Okay?
Why do we do that, Dale?
So it doesn't have any slop.
All right.
As you know, we don't want a sloppy...
No, we don't.
I won't say it.
Okay.
And then the nylock.
Yep, should be a nylock nut in there. Go on the back side. That way it's not going to vibrate loose on you.
Now, that is, once it's tightened up, that'll be a pretty snug, rotatable piece that'll move with
Still
the
got
bike.
plenty of swivel to actuate.
Yep. Then you're going to take your threaded rod. And what I do is I thread it all the way in.
Drop something.
All the way in, back it up a little bit, just a little bit. Then we're going to see where this is going to end up. Okay, so we know right now. Put this back on there. Pretty coordinated there, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna pull this up to where it's hitting the brake and the inside. That's where your pads or your shoes are starting to hit. You know, pull the tension up, pull this up to the stop, and see what you got. Now you can see it's not quite all the way up there yet, right?
Yep.
So now what we got to do is back this out a little bit. That one first. Do the same thing again. Getting closer. Bring this one back. Now remember, I tightened them all the way down, all the way to the bottom. A little more.
Here we go.
That might be pretty darn close right there.
So now we've effectively set the preload on our brake arm. This way, when you push on the brake pedal, if you don't have that lever stop on there, that pedal's gonna swing up like this and you gotta push it all the way down. This way we got the preload out of it. It stops, I'm gonna spin the wheel, Dale's gonna hit the brake lever. Oh, look at that, she stops. Beautiful. So, we got the preload set on our linkage.
So if you want it to be tighter or looser, you have to adjust the threaded rod in and out.
Yes.
It pulls it in and out. You cannot adjust, unfortunately, where this is going to end up, because it's going to end up where the stop is. But that's a pretty good, it's about a...
It gives you a good angle. That way your foot's not way up in the air when you're trying to hit that brake when you're riding, even if you got some clip-ons or something.
Right.
Now if you're 6'6", well, get your ass off of a 350 and get onto something bigger. Sorry.
Now this has got the stock exhaust on it too. A lot of people run different exhausts, an aftermarket exhaust, which might give you more clearance. And if that's the case, then you can take that throttle or that stopper right there, turn it over, and it'll give you a lower stop point.
Yep.
Then you have to come back up and adjust everything. If you think about it, you can figure it out.
All right, everybody, that's gonna wrap this one up. Got everything bolted on, looking good. I want to reiterate the fact that when you guys get to this point, sit on it, make sure it's comfy for you. Take it around the block if you want, but do not ride this thing very far, because when you get back, you're going to need to undo all these bolts, your mount bolts for the mounts and the pegs, and make sure you Loctite these on both sides of this bike. Very important. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Got one more thing to show you up here. These are our manifolds that we just came out with too. I don't think these are on our site yet, but just another quick and easy bolt-on manifold. They look pretty good. So give those a thought when you guys are building up your next CB350. Check out our website at oldschoolspeed.com, and don't be afraid to send us an email, guys. Thanks again. Have a good one.